Good morning, good afternoon, good night, my dears. Welcome to the Worldwide Podcast, Grenada edition. I'm very excited for this country because, actually, when I don't know so much about the country, I really do my research before recording. But from this time, I just decided to, surf in the web on YouTube, and then I saw an amazing video of Grenada. And I love to have a first impression right here during the episode, recording the episode, but I couldn't hold myself. It's already on my bucket list without recording the podcast. But before introducing our guest from Grenada, Natalia Toby, I just want to ask, how's Guilherme? How's it going, bro? Where have you been, bro?
Everything is great. I am currently in Paris right now. I've lived here for the past 2 years. And also, just thanks for that amazing introduction. Grenada is beautiful and it should definitely be on your bucket list. And all your listeners, you have to go. But yeah, just a little bit about me. I've lived in Paris for the past 2 years. I am training for fencing. I want to be on the US Olympic team. So I just kind of moved here and just started training in Levallois-Perret, which is it's to the soggy waffles, the west side of Paris, right outside of Paris. And I'm born and raised in New Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl. You could take the girl out of Jersey, but you can't take Jersey out the girl. Okay. So yeah, my parents are not firstborn American citizens. They are American citizens, but they were born in the Caribbean. So like this podcast is named Grenada. That's where my mom is born. And I know, Guillermo, you like to have Google Maps open. If you look right underneath Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago is right underneath. And that's where my dad is from. So I always say that they're meant to be because their islands are like next to each other.
Nice.
Basically,
Cool.
actually, just before we go into fencing, into everything, about your professional life, I just want to know, how did your parents meet? Was it in Grenada? Was it in Trinidad and Tobago? Was it in the US? Please,
US.
They
if you do know,
met in New Jersey at a club.
wow.
Yes, it's so funny because I'm very different from my parents. Like my mom was the party girl. Like, you know how everyone's waiting in line? Her and her best friend would there's no line for them, right? They would party Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, go to Miami for the weekend, come back to work. Like that was just their lifestyle. And it's funny, my mom is not like that anymore. But yeah, I think my parents had a mutual friend. And I think my mom is like maybe 6 or 7 years older than my dad. So I don't even know how my dad got in the club, because when they met, he wasn't even 21 yet. But yeah, their friend introduced them to each other. And my mom was like, no, that's not the guy for me. And he just kept pursuing her and they started dating. And then, I don't know, I guess they fell in love.
Happened.
Yeah. So, but I will not meet my man at the club though. That's
the one place that's never.
No, I don't know why they chose that, but great.
I mean, listen, Natalia, if I was in the club and if I was in the United States and then I met someone from a country next to mine, I'll be like crazy. But here's the thing, like if I met someone from Spain, you'll be kind of normal. It wouldn't be weird. But your mom met someone from Trinidad and Tobago, which is the island below Grenada.
I don't think that's weird, because in New Jersey, and especially even in New York, there are a lot of Caribbean people. And I know my parents, even like now that I'm like 24, my like godparents, like my mom's like really close friends for like 20 plus years, they're all Caribbean. I grew up like around a lot of Caribbean people. So that's why I feel like this episode is very interesting. I'm actually really happy to be on your podcast, because I feel like I always grew up around Caribbean people. The only thing I didn't grow up around is like the island life. Like it wasn't as slow. But yeah, my mom seeing my dad at the club was just like another guy. She's just like, okay, I see Caribbean people every day, and all of their friends are Caribbean. So
that is very interesting.
Yeah.
I would never have said New Jersey would be a place for Caribbean people to.
Oh yeah, New Jersey, New York, Florida. It's crazy, but also Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Florida.
makes
About.
sense.
Yeah,
And
because it's very close.
also, Toronto, I don't know if you guys listen to Drake, but like you see how sometimes Drake has like a Jamaican accent and it's absolutely
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
It's just because he grew up with Jamaican people, because there are a lot of Jamaicans in Toronto,
Pretty
Ontario,
cool.
also London. I think London has more Jamaicans than actual like Jamaica. Like it's insane. So Caribbean people are spread like all around.
Around the world. Pretty cool.
Oh wow,
Never knew.
Yeah,
for
don't worry about
sure. And I mean, we can dive a little bit now into Grenada actually.
it.
Because when was the last time that you actually visited the country? Because you told me you went to it. Did you go into where your mom grew up in? Or
Yeah. So it has been years. Like when I say years, I can't even remember. Maybe like I was 12, 13, 14 max.
Oh,
Um, my mom hasn't
10
been
years
back.
ago, let's say.
Yeah, let's just say 10
Around.
years ago. The last time my mom went was like a couple years ago, but like for a little bit. But then after that, like barely goes. So I know some of my friends who have Caribbean parents, they go every year or, twice a year. But my family, we just don't really go back, or they don't go back to their islands. But we are planning a summer like family trip to Grenada. So
nice,
Pretty cool.
nice.
yeah.
As Ron was mentioning, I was also just seeing some stuff from Grenada because I knew a couple things from Trinidad and Tobago
Mhm.
because so the Caribbean is very interesting. Each island has its own
It is.
almost culture in terms of like it has its own ethnicity of people. It has its own gastronomy. It has its own sightseeings,
Language.
language as well. But
Yeah.
the ethnicity is so interesting because I thought since it's so close to Venezuela that a lot of Latinos lived in Grenada and also in Trinidad and Tobago. I was very wrong. Oh my god.
No. I think you're right and you're wrong. I think because Venezuela is having such troubles that a lot
Massive.
of Venezuelans are leaving the country. But when I say you can take like, I don't know how long the boat ride would be from Trinidad and Tobago to Venezuela, but it's right
Yeah.
there. Like Trinidad and Tobago is the very last island on the Isles of Caribbean. My dad does not speak Spanish. My entire family on the Trinidad and Tobago side, they don't speak Spanish. Like no one speaks Spanish. It's not like a, commingling
Yeah.
of like Spanish culture.
Mhm.
So yeah, it is very different. And I also want to, I know this is about Grenada, but like both of my parents, their islands are,
For sure.
yeah, very ingrained in our household. But if you look at Trinidad and Tobago, right, because you kind of said that each island has their own kind of mix of people, I would say that Trinidad and Tobago, they have an ancestry of Indians and also Africans, right? My
Mhm.
dad, his country, they eat curry breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like, and a snack. Like
Wow.
curry is everything. And even now, because we can talk about fencing later, but I'm fencing in an international program. So I think we had like 5 or 6 Indians. And I feel more at home with them just because they'll make curry for me. And I'm like, yes. The
The
only difference,
smell.
yeah, the only difference between their curry and like Trinidad and Trini curry is that
Takes you back home, right?
yeah, it's like, yes, can you guys cook for me all the time? But like
Yeah.
things like they have roti, we have roti. Like my favorite thing is roti. Just with Indians, they use yogurt and like many different spices, but we would use like a more like just yellow curries. They have many different types of curries. So yeah, and even some people in Trinidad and Tobago, they're like Taoist, and or Hindi. And it's weird because it's like the Caribbean, you would think it's just Black people, but it's many different people.
100%. And again, going into the islands as well on top of Venezuela, we actually did a podcast on Curacao. And
Yeah.
again, it's a whole different thing. It's a Dutch
A
island,
whole different.
basically
Yeah.
just white people, let's call it that, and they speak Papiamento and Dutch. And again, it's so just the vast
Crazy.
variety of cultures in small islands next to each other.
Yeah.
It fascinates me. It really does. So
No,
so
I'm actually not surprised that, I mean, one, I would never think, or how should I say this? when I think of the Caribbean, or how I used to think of the Caribbean, is like the major like Black dominated islands like Jamaica, Barbados, Antigua, you know, and just because that is what I grew up around, right? In New Jersey in New Jersey and New York, like I said, there's a very large community, but it's of like all of the English speaking Black islands. And then when I moved to Paris, right? Because obviously in France, you have the island people are French Guyana, Guadeloupe, and Martinique. Yes, those are the three, right? The three main. They speak French, right? I think it's like Creole, but also like
Creole French. It's like Mauritius as well. They speak Creole French, and next to Mauritius is Reunion, which is the other island that belongs to France. So it's not even a country. It's just like an island next to Mauritius, very small, that belongs to the country.
Yeah, France owns a lot of stuff, but
but for the better reasons, but sure.
those three islands that I just mentioned, these people these Black people who I see in France, when I moved here, I was like, oh, they're okay. These are Caribbean people. Like, we're gonna bond. I don't feel like a connection with them. It's so weird. But if I go to London and I see people from Trinidad, if I see people from Jamaica, I don't know them, but it feels like family, you know? So it's weird how you would think that, okay, we're all part of the island, so like we'll just all get along. And it's like, no, there's significant cultural differences and things that would happen in Trinidad or would happen in, you know, Guadeloupe. They're just different. So it's a very diverse.
For sure, I think it comes down to relatability. I truly think so, because some countries, they go through certain situations that it's hard for someone from another island to kind of grasp and have empathy towards those people, because they don't really understand. I mean, I can talk a little bit about Trinidad and Tobago. It's a tough island. It's one of the most dangerous countries in the world, and I'm sure your dad has mentioned you some stories when he lived there, maybe. But again, it all comes back to situations that those countries went through, maybe when they got liberty and they became a country, for all those things. I think that comes down to what you were saying, for sure.
Yeah, I also think it's just a language barrier, just because like when we have Labor Day parades in New York, which is I think like the beginning of September, all of like the English speaking like islands, it's their parade. And I just remember like a few years ago, they just started, you know, including like Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. They're like, all right, yeah, you guys are part of the island. It's just like, come on in. But I didn't even know like French Guyana or, you know, Guadeloupe. I was like, oh, I didn't even know you guys were part of us, right? Just because it's a language barrier. I think that also separates us too.
It is really interesting.
And I love the African influences that you got right there. While you're doing my research, I was like, fuck it. It sounds like an Africa and a paradise. So it was amazing. That's why I have to go there. I gotta go there.
I'm telling you, Grenada
already
is
on my bucket list.
So beautiful. And I don't know if you saw this when you were looking at Grenada, but they have this underwater sculpture museum.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
If you had gone to that thing, because I'm going to preface a little bit. There was this account on Twitter that blew up. It was like pictures of abandoned places way back in the day. That picture of the kids in the circle got so popular. No one knew where it came from. Oh my God, I even screamed a little bit to the mic. And it got so popular because everybody was on Reddit trying to locate it. And I think only after a couple months, people located the image into Grenada. But it's so fascinating, right? Like an underwater, let's say, park to scuba dive and everything.
Yeah,
in such a small island, maybe it's not even marketed that much. But when you see that picture, like, this has to be like in a crazy country like Mexico or something. Yeah. And then you see it, and it's like Grenada. So
you know what I really like. I think they market themselves. And no hate to Jamaica. I have Jamaica. My best friend is Jamaican. I swear I'm Jamaican by association. Jamaica just takes all the freaking shine. You're like, oh, where should I go on vacation? Jamaica.
Yeah.
You know, no one's like, oh, let me go to Grenada. You know, plus the tickets for Jamaica is cheap. It's like it's just a very like well marketed island, and I feel like they just suck all the shine from the other islands. I'm like, there are other Caribbean
It's because
islands down there.
Bob Marley took
Yeah,
it
true.
for
Yeah,
them,
that's it. It's either Jamaica, Dominican Republic, or Puerto Rico. Like those are the three
Yeah.
places that Americans that's their first destination, like outside of America, you know?
And
Maybe
also
even
only
Mexico.
movies, there are always only movies. They don't mention
Yeah, yeah.
Grenada or Barbados
Always
or
Yeah,
Bahamas,
Bahamas
everything like that.
sometimes, but still
Yeah.
Jamaica,
yeah. Jamaica
they stole the bride.
is the island. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's because people already know they speak English. If it's no, it's even though it's like the another type of English, let's call it Creole English. But
Bob Marley, bro. Bob Marley.
yeah. But
It's because of him.
oh God.
They got it clear.
I'm sorry, that was just you come off. You said Bob Marley. That's it. Next question.
Bob Marley. Bob Marley.
No, but
Bob Marley.
you know what? I think I'm just looking at the New York, New Jersey. Let's just say the East Coast, right? Where you know of Caribbean people. Let's just say you're just an African American person, you know, generation after generation, like you're American, right? Like deep rooted American. I think even though that they have classmates and friends and coworkers who are from these different islands, I don't think that they're like, oh, well, Jamaica is the one that speaks English. Like they know that there are other islands. I just think when it comes to tourism, and I wish like other islands did this as well, but like Jamaica does a really good job. And the last thing that I want to say about like the tourism problem that these smaller islands have, it's just really expensive for flights. Like Jamaica on a good day, maybe 400, maybe 600 round trip. I mean, there are more expensive flights depending on if you want to go on Christmas or whatever, but Grenada on a good day, minimum 800.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could go to Dubai. Like, why would I want to take a 2-hour flight?
And you're saying from the US, right?
From New Jersey. So Newark International Airport.
Fuck. Very expensive.
800. Like we were looking at tickets, they were like 1,200. And I'm like, Mom,
this is crazy. Come
to Paris. I'll show you the Eiffel Tower. We'll eat some baguettes and we'll call it a day. But that's expensive, you know? So I think that's the thing.
That accessibility part, yeah. Yeah, I think maybe airport. I mean, obviously, it comes to demand. The lower the demand, the more expensive the prices are going to be. Even like for Easter Island, even from Chile, it's crazy expensive because there's not too much demand.
Yeah, right here inside Brazil, it's crazy expensive if you want to travel from the south to the north or whatever.
Yeah, and but that could be a good way.
You guys from Europe, you guys are lucky because you have those low cost airlines.
Not just Europe,
we do,
bro. Think of Asia. Southeast Asia
right
is insane with ticket prices, and they have good flights.
As well.
Yeah, I think I went to Thailand from China. No, sorry. I went to Bangkok in Thailand to like Phuket. And I think a one-way flight was like 34.
Yeah, it's crazy cheap.
Yeah.
And they're really good flights. I've heard
crazy cheap.
The flight was not good. It was definitely sketchy.
Really? I've heard otherwise. I've heard actually Southeast Asian airlines are actually quite good, but
the flight wasn't good. A stork grabbed me and then we were
No, it was just like it was either like one person. It was just like small and you're like, do we trust the pilot? But $34, it's all right. We're good. We're gonna get
worth it. Worth it. Let's go.
Exactly.
Worth my life.
Oh,
yeah. YOLO.
So I'm gonna ask a very dumb question. Because the island is very small, I'm gonna ask: are there cars on the island, or everybody just uses like a moped and bikes?
No, everyone commutes by horse.
Wait.
Yeah.
By horse?
They have cars. That is the dumbest question ever.
Damn it.
Jesus, what kind of
cars? He said, yes, we have cars. We have cars.
Okay.
Planes. You can even take like a private jet. You can take helicopters, yachts, boats. Grenada
I mean, that I can imagine.
that country. Like, do not play with Grenada. Just because it's
All
small
right.
doesn't
All
mean
right.
that we're not mighty.
There's no cars. All right, my dumb question is out
Lots
of
of
the way.
horses.
Okay,
Let's-
I knew it was gonna be dumb. I was like, okay, let me just play with him because there's no way. There's no way.
That
I
was a
had to do it
really
for the
great
people.
call, Natalia.
Someone
Really great
also had
call.
that question in their mind, and I was the one who put it on the table. So, to all your
Okay.
listeners, I was that person.
No, and
So
So-
I did my research before, and there was lots of cars passing
Did you
by.
see pictures
So
of cars? Because I didn't. There were
Yeah,
none on
no.
Google Maps. So okay,
Actually did.
No,
only
I think
boats.
I don't think it's a dumb question because I've seen like I like watching like African TikTok now. I don't know. I just been like exposed to more African people. No, I've been exposed to a wider variety of African people since I've lived in France, just because where I grew up, it's like mostly West African. You probably have like, Nigeria or Ghana, right? Like that's kind of, I
Mhm.
wouldn't say it's it, but like that's mainly what you see. So just like living here, I've just seen different types of African people. And Africa is like, I guess when you're in the US, you just think of it as like a very poor continent, right?
Mhm.
But now I'm like, no, half of y'all have way too much money. These mansions, no, so I think
Yeah.
I don't think your question is dumb because it just maybe what the knowledge that you had, right? I always thought of, I wouldn't say that I thought of Africa as like poverty, right? Because I know like, yeah, they're just, highlighting that one part. And plus I have friends who are African and they are not starving. Like, their parents are driving the newest BMW and they have a house back in Nigeria that's like 10 stories. But it's just interesting to see like when you get exposed to people who are coming from different places and you really see like, wow, okay, my perception or my idea of these countries is completely different from people who are actually living there and they're telling you their stories and you're like, wow, okay, this is different. So I don't think your question is that dumb, but it was
I
funny.
actually, I only said that question because it wasn't even because of the money. It was the infrastructure of the island. Because in Southeast Asia, people only use mopeds normally to get around. There are cars, of course. I mean, if you go to Bangkok, there's cars, but normally people use mopeds because of the infrastructure of the
Mm.
terrain and the roads. And it's such a small
Yeah, cars
island.
are
I don't
minority
I don't
over
really
there.
understand the usage of cars.
Oh,
In
well,
my
Grenada
my
is
way.
giving 2023. We are modern,
All
okay?
right,
Yeah.
Teslas, charging places. I love it. Let's go. Let's go. You talked a little bit about Paris. Paris is very interesting because I think it's next to London, the city with the most black people in Europe. I have family from Cape Verde living in Paris. Love them to death. And there's a lot of different cultures of black people in Paris. So it's very nice to see that because again you can see someone from Guinea, someone from Cape Verde, someone like literally any country
Yeah.
you pick in Africa, they have it in Paris because again it's a really big hub for African culture in Europe. So from your experience, maybe you've seen that already, even with restaurants and everything.
Yeah, I would just like to point out, I would like to live in London. Okay. That's
Really?
yes.
British
Yes.
culture. Why? Only
No.
for
Rain.
entertainment.
No, I'm telling you, I didn't say England. I said London. Okay. I don't want to
Okay.
eat red beans and toast in the morning. That's not what I said.
I
But
love. Oh no, I was just gonna say I love the meme that like people say British people eat like the zeppelins are still going above their heads because oh my god, their food, mm, it's no good. And
no.
Paris food, oh my god, French food,
Yeah.
Okay.
very nice.
Don't kill me. I don't
Okay,
like
I
French
won't.
food that much.
All right.
But I think they hit it on the nail when it comes to pastries. I think this will
Yeah.
forever, like I'm actually very picky about pastries. Like I don't eat croissants everywhere. I'm like, like I'm very, very, very picky. I love the cheese here. I think they do cheese very well. I'm not a big wine person, but yeah, I think the pastries
Wine
is
is
what
a great
really makes this like the whole country. Even when you go to like
the food
different
culture,
parts,
right?
yeah, like different parts of France will have different like types of pastries. And I'm
Mhm.
like, damn, y'all just don't miss like at all. I love y'all for the pastry. The food,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
For the patrons, not for the potato. They love potato right there.
Um,
I mean, because people say that the good part of the food of the French food is the restaurants. Actually, the restaurants got high quality right there. But when you come to cook at home and go to the shop and grab your food and then cook, it's not the quality is not that well, not that good. So
yeah,
that's
I
what
think,
people say that the restaurants, the quality of the restaurants, it's pretty cool.
yeah, if you want like a Michelin star, like do Michelin star? I think they have 3 stars. I don't know. But if you want like the best of the best food, I definitely think Paris has that. But like for everyday food, I would say it's like like
Yeah.
when I think of like my favorite European cuisine, I think of Italian. Like you could have the
Yeah.
best pasta. Like the
Yeah.
chef could be, 20 out of 10, right? The best, most expensive Italian. And then you can also get like a pizza for like €5 and it still be bomb, right? And I
yeah.
think that's more important to me. So that's why I eat Italian food at least
Yeah.
once a week here.
As a person who lived in Italy, I do agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
go to any osteria
100%.
in Bologna or in Napoli, and it's literally
Yeah.
super good.
Everyday food.
Osteria is like the cheap restaurants there, basically. Everything's super nice. But again, okay, before I say this, I'm a little bit biased in Paris because every time that I go there, I just eat food from Cape Verde. So I just African food. So that's why I was saying it was very good.
So
Uh,
funny. My friend came to visit me in Paris, like let's just say last month. And they were like, you know what? Because he's Jamaican. And he was like, dang, I miss rice. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Because in Caribbean culture, like we don't really eat a lot of pasta. It's maybe rice, in my dad's country, roti. But yeah, it's it's mainly rice. It's not the most popular side thing, but yeah, rice. Anyway, so my friend is like, yeah, I really miss rice. I haven't had rice in so long. We go to this Senegalese spot. First of all, the spot is like really small. It's not like, oh, wow, this is like a great spot, right? And the restaurant had like over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google Maps. Yes. When I tell you that Senegalese food was the best food I've ever had here,
Oh, yes.
wow.
ever, ever. I was like, wow. I still have dreams about that rice. The way how they like cook the rice in like the same kind of sauce that they make the food.
Natalia, do you know what? You gotta come to Brazil. If you
Oh,
like
definitely.
rice, you gotta come right here. We got
Definitely.
we got the best combination, which is beans and rice all together. It's the best
But it's
combination ever.
it's different beans. It's black beans. You
Yeah,
have to
it's
say
black
because
bean.
black beans
Yeah,
are
yeah,
nothing like the normal beans. Jesus.
yeah. No,
Oh, but I
not at
think
all.
when we have rice and peas, it's, similar. Like, okay, maybe not
Mm,
black beans, but I like a good rice with a little bit of something in it.
So
So I'm
yeah,
coming
yeah,
to
yeah.
Brazil.
All right.
you definitely gotta come. And the beans, I mean, it might be the same, but the taste is different. I mean,
Yeah.
because we put lots of meat on the beans, and the meat's from here. So wow,
Yes.
tasty fuck, taste as fuck.
Yes. Okay. Brazil. Next spot.
Before recording the podcast, I had a plate full of beans, and so yeah, pretty full.
Oh God. Okay, so Natalia, why London? Why do you think you'd be
Because
living better
Oh, yeah.
in London than Paris?
I just feel at home. Like,
Mm,
okay, I know I could be weird, but for me, I cure homesickness with food. Like, you know how there's 5 love languages? The sixth one of like just feeding Natalia, that's my love language. Once I
mm,
have a good meal, oh my gosh, I'm on cloud 9, 10, 11, and 12, right? And I think when I visited London for the first time, not only did they have like Jamaican spots, like, okay, great, cool. They have Trinidadian spots, and it really just felt like home. Like I grew up with Caribbean people, and just like being surrounded with those same type of Caribbean people, it just felt like I would not ever be homesick here. Like if I'm homesick, I'll just eat some curry goat with white rice, and I'll just be happy. But it is very expensive. So yeah, London is pricey.
Yeah, very pricey city.
Hmm.
And for the rents, I mean, to rent a room
Yeah.
right there, it's
Yeah.
insanely expensive. Insanely expensive, guys.
Yeah.
Now going back to France, I'm going to guess you went to France because of fencing. So we can
Yeah. Funny
dive a little bit
story.
into that.
I was
Sure.
dating this guy at the time, who also fenced, and I guess like this coach the coach who coached my idol, right?
Mm.
My boyfriend at the time said, "Oh yeah, look, this coach has an opening." And he is in France. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go." So I just left. I left my family, I left my friends, the guy, and
All
I said,
right.
I'm going,
Love
right?
story right there.
Yeah. Listen,
Risk. Love it.
yeah, and it was in the middle of COVID, which was terrible. Like I went
Mm.
2021, and it
Yeah.
was like, so it was February 2021. And I remember France was terrible with the lockdown. When I first got there, like the first month or two, lockdown was at 6 p.m. Like if you were at the grocery store is closing at like 5:15, 5:30, because even the workers had to be home at 6. You couldn't go out, no restaurants, no shopping. The only thing that was open was not even cafes. Like everything was shut down. The only thing that was open was maybe like the library and the grocery store. So
Oh, damn.
it was a hard adjustment in the beginning. But then, I
You
got
should
used to it.
you should have come to Croatia. I moved to Croatia in February 2021. Listen, no restrictions, nothing. You could do
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
anything.
Poland,
I
in
moved for
Poland thing was
fencing.
hard.
What fencing
You
is in
you
Croatia
can
for
probably
me?
Croatia.
fancy Croatia, like grab a stick
There's no fencing
and
right
trade
there,
there.
bro.
No, I'm not leaving my entire family just to be like, there's no restrictions at home. New Jerseyans
Some
don't
COVID
care.
vacation in
Exactly.
Croatia. Why not?
No, I'm
Uh,
perfectly okay.
all right. Continue with France.
Yes.
Yes. Then after COVID went away, um you started having championships, I presume, because they started happening again in
Yeah,
fencing,
I think
or
my first competition was in the summertime. So let's just say summer 2021. But also this is like the Olympic season. So the Olympics happened in 2021 as well.
Mhm.
So for me, it was really just about just training and like getting
Mm.
used to my coach. And then eventually I switched coaches to the coach I have now. I love that man. Like I'm gonna send
Mm.
him the podcast. He's gonna be like, girl, I
Ah,
hear you talk enough. But yeah, I love my new coach. And the training center that I'm at now is on the west side, like outside of Paris. So I live in Paris. I live in the 17th, and I can walk to practice, like maybe 30 minutes walking, but I just bike, which is like 10.
amazing.
Yeah, but I love it. Like now I live on my own. Definitely had some terrible, like living situation stories that were awful. But now I live on my own and I just have like a great spot. So I'm happy now.
Nice. That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Going back, actually, did you ever realize that you're embracing your true Caribbean self because you're basically a pirate? I mean, sword fighting, right? Sword fighting. You are
Cut
a
the
true
podcast.
pirate. Come
Cut
on.
the cameras. What?
Come on. You are a true pirate. You
She's
grabbed
going to cut your head off, bro.
as a kid a
I
stick and you
agree.
said, "This is me. I'm going to turn this into a professional career. Let's get to it." You told your mom, I love pirates. I'm from Grenada. Get me into
No.
fencing.
I don't even think Grenada has pirates. I
I mean, parts of the Caribbean. So I'm just gonna put it that.
What was
But
Johnny Depp and the actual Caribbeans, I think, are two different things. I think the only place that has like, did you ever see that movie called Captive or
Captain
Captain?
Phillips.
Yes, I think
Yeah,
like
they're
these
from Somalia.
African countries on the coast, not every African country on the coast. We're not going to generalize Africa,
Yeah,
but I think like they have pirates. Like like Grenada,
Somalia.
no, not at all.
I know that Somalia has pirates, but I mean, when you think of pirates, you're gonna think of of the Caribbean, of Tortuga, the island they used to be
I
for
think of
pirates.
Johnny Depp. I'm sorry.
Really? Nah.
Yes, but
Nah.
even though I see what you're trying to do, you're trying to tie things. I'll give you a little bit.
All
I'll
right.
try to, but it's not with pirates. So never in a million years would I have imagined living in France. Like all throughout, school, I've learned Spanish because I was like, okay, the second language in the US is Spanish. Like I should learn Spanish. And then boom, I ended up here. But so my mom is like lighter skinned. She's, black, but she's still like a lot lighter than my dad. And she told me that a part of my like family, like let's just say great, whoever, how many greats, granddad is French. And I said, wow, why are you now telling me this? One. And two, it's funny, like I would never imagine me like living in France.
French
and then,
roots.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Pretty cool.
I'll give you that story, but not the pirates.
All right.
Not the pirates one.
Still good to me. But
Very
why did you
amazing.
start fencing? Was it like a extracurricular? Oh my god, I butchered my word. I'm sorry.
Extracurricular
Activity
Extracurricular.
that you had in high
Hold
school
on.
or something like that?
So I started, let's just say a year, or let's just say the year before high school. And my high school didn't have a fencing team. Fun fact, our like our town recreation center, they had some like classes in the summer. Like, so my mom was like, okay, go do something. I was like, all right, fine. And the only two available classes were fencing and cooking. And my mom was like, okay, you're going to take these two. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And I took the cooking class. And then a week later, I took the fencing class. So I think it was 2 years before my start of high school. So the first year I took it and I really, really liked it. Then the second year I took it for a week and I really liked it as well. And then this was like my first ever coach, so it was 3 coaches who ran the recreation center. They were like, oh, we have a club, like you should really fence with us. And I was like, okay, sure. And then fast forward, I did it in high school and I knew I like wanted to go to college, but I never thought of like fencing in college. And then the first coaches who were at this recreation were the coaches of my college. So they like, I've been with them for like many, many years. And yeah, I was the captain for 3 years of my university. I went to NCAA's 3 years in a row. Female athlete of the year at my school, maybe like twice. So yeah, I really, really liked fencing. And then obviously COVID happened my senior year of college. And I said, okay, like what's next? And then boom, I moved to France. And I was like, yeah, I think I actually really want to do this outside of college. So here I am.
Pretty cool.
That is really dope, actually. That is really
And
dope.
I just want to bring up a question. I mean, here in Brazil, it's talking about Black community right here. It's fencing is a thing that's very far for Black people right here. You know, when you first come, like, hey, I do fencing, the people definitely think that you're rich or you're definitely white if you do fencing. And fascinates me a lot and how fencing is getting into the Black community that in the US. I've watched the TV show Wednesday, and then there are Black people doing fencing right there, and that's pretty cool. And wow, and I was actually fascinating, and I wanted to do this discussion. How is the Black community, doing with fencing? I mean, how is the fencing right now?
Yeah, number one, Guillermo, I love your excitement. He's like jumping out of his seat. It's so funny. So what?
It was because I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
ask you something, but I'm gonna ask you after.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous, but to answer your question about the Black community or the fencing, Black people in the fencing community.
Yeah.
I think in the US, when I first started, I didn't see that many people fencing, but there were definitely Black people. And there's this fencing federation called Peter Westbrook Foundation, and they help Black kids
Pretty cool.
join fencing. And it's actually like our rival club, but it's like soft air quotes. Like I'm friends with everybody or not everyone. I have friends in Peter Westbrook Foundation. But yeah, I definitely have seen there are a lot of initiatives to get more Black kids in fencing, especially in New Jersey and New York. I don't know about everywhere else in the States, but it's definitely more common. I see it on Netflix shows now. I see it on TV. I see it
Yeah.
on Instagram. And then with the Black community, I don't think it's, I still think it's like a very wealthy sport, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
as exclusive as it was when I was growing up.
Before.
Now, even I know a fencer, her name is Nzinga Prescott, and she has her academy, Peace Academy, and I think they're located in Brooklyn, and it's a nonprofit to help Black kids in those communities start fencing. So, and they're doing really, really well. So yeah, I don't think that it's uncommon to see Black people in fencing anymore. And even in Brazil, I know that you mentioned one of my teammates, she's Brazilian, and she just won 2 World Cups back to back. Like, when I tell
Wow.
you this girl is a rock star, I'm like watching, I have my mom on like FaceTime and I share my screen and we're just watching her and we're like, she's insane. Of course, like you said, Brazil, it's a bit trickier. It's like a newer sport. It's not like soccer.
Yeah, and thing, but I mean, it's a thing that we cannot in the Black community. We would not. It's not the first thing that we think, do
Yeah,
fencing
it's
and
just
see Black
soccer.
people doing fencing. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, even basketball here, you can see lots of Black people playing, and volleyball as well. Lots of Black
Mhm.
people in the volleyball team. But when it comes to another sports, that actually request more money to practice, it becomes difficult to see people practicing actually.
Yeah, from my own experience, it's difficult.
Yeah,
Very difficult.
can imagine.
Guillermo, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, before that, actually, there's a very big similarity in South Africa, but instead of fencing, it's rowing. Rowing,
Yeah,
from
bro.
the media as well, it's a very white people sport. The very big rich people in the universities who just row. I
Mhm.
remember, I think it's the Social Network, the movie about Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes, yes,
There's
yes.
a scene with the rowing, so people kind of have that association with the sport. But in South Africa, there's also a lot of big communities that bring Black kids into the sport, and it actually ends up working really, really nice, because again, you have the cardio machine of rowing, and then you go in South Africa, you have the coast, so
Mhm.
it's quite easy, and lakes as well, so it's quite easy to bring the canoe and to practice the sport. But yeah, I think it's also, again, as an Olympic sport as well, it's growing into these poor communities and into the Black community as well, in South Africa at least. So I kind of see that
Pretty cool.
similarity. Now, I was gonna ask,
Oh no.
did Jenna Ortega made fencing cool again?
Who is Jenna Ortega?
You're American and you don't know who Jenna Ortega is? She's the popping star right now. The girl from Wednesday. So Wednesday.
Oh,
Yeah, the
why didn't you
actress.
just say that?
Yeah.
Because it's Jenna Ortega. She's I kid you not. I think she's the most popular girl, or one of the, at the moment.
Have you seen the
I
Super
didn't
I
know
kid
her
you not.
name, actually.
Have you
Didn't
seen
know
the
her
Super
name.
Bowl? Rihanna is the most important girl
Okay,
of our
actress.
That's it.
century.
Actress.
Next
Actress.
question.
That's it.
That's
No,
it.
but
I rest my
actually,
case.
I just asked this because I've been seeing a lot of fencing videos currently, so
Mhm.
many after Wednesday, and I feel like that brought some more people into the sport because they saw that it was like something cool that they could practice and maybe got some interest into it. I want
You
to
know
hear
what?
your perspective.
You know what's so funny? I always appreciate when I see fencing in like movies, whether it's like mainstream or like videos. But
Hmm.
I just wish that they would like consult real fencers when they make these videos, because every fencer, like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna say for every fencer, but my friends who are fencers, we were like so excited, like, wow. But also, who there was no fencer on set. Like it's terrible. It's terrible.
Okay.
It's like maybe someone who's like in like performing arts is like, let's just do fencing. I think it's a new hot idea. And it's like, no, hire a fencer. There are fencers who would do it for free. I don't know. Maybe there was a fencer, but they need to be fired. It was so bad. But I think things like this, like shows, this is not the first show that I've seen. now it's like every other show I'm seeing, or every commercial. There was even a Chase commercial, like Chase the bank, a big billion-dollar company. They had a fencing commercial maybe last year. So I definitely think it helps the sport, but also I think what else is helping the sport is just like the performance of the athletes, and not only the performance but actually like having media coverage of them. I think what really helped fencing was the 2016 Olympics, and
Yeah, in Rio.
yeah, fencing was like, it had its spotlight, and not just like, okay, let's just have this, but it's like on major like news channels, daytime, shows.
I
One
see what you mean.
Yeah, I think that is really helping. And even
I,
the Olympic medalist, or sorry, gold medalist, or Olympic champion, I should say, for the US. Like, she has major brand deals. Whether I think she's I'll just say she's in the medical field. I don't really know what she's doing. But she had a commercial done with her boyfriend, and they had like, it's a major like scrubs company, right? So it's like different things is really exposing fencing. And I think all of it combined is really helping our sport.
I see what you mean when you say that, like, don't see the performance too much from actual fencers, because maybe most people won't look at the sport as a sport and more as like a hobby or an activity. Like, someone who watches Wednesday probably will think Wednesday fencing is like an activity after school that people do, kind of like rowing actually, when actually it's a sport. There's
Yeah.
Olympic Games for it, and there's so much more championships around the world for fencing. So in that regards, yes, I do agree. I feel like having representation from an actual fencer, maybe showing an actual match how it's supposed to be, not like how
Yeah.
it's on Wednesday,
No,
because it's
but I
just like,
think
of course.
the only critique that I have with Wednesday is like, I loved that scene. Like, I'm not like hating on it. It was really good. The only thing for me is like, we call it a piece, or in English a strip, where it's just like our zone. Like, how you have a soccer field, and it's like, if you
Yeah.
exit, then penalty, out, whatever. So we have this like lane. It's a very skinny lane, and for them to be running around the room.
Yeah, it
Like,
was open world for them. Yeah,
for
open
me,
world
I'm like,
full
this is
on.
so disrespectful. Like, you can't just stay in the lane. Or I think maybe they didn't have masks on. Like, this is like,
Yeah. The
no, we
worst.
would never
Yeah.
like think, okay, maybe they didn't. No, I think they needed to have the mask, but just like just to make it a little more accurate would just be better. But other than that, yeah. And also they mix, like, we have 3 different weapons in fencing, and they have different rules, and also different equipment, yeah, they're just 3 different ones. Like, I would not fence the other 2. Like, you're just disciplined in one. If you want to switch, sure, but it takes many years to like adjust to the other ones. But yeah, they were like mixing the styles, and I'm like, I love how we're having fencing on TV, but can it just be accurate?
Yeah,
Sure.
for sure. I also see that a little bit with Taekwondo, because people, when they think of Taekwondo, they don't think of like protections and like points. They think of like Muay Thai almost, but with just feet, and it's nothing like it. I mean, if you see a
Yeah.
Taekwondo match in the Olympics, um, it's very like based on points, kind of like fencing in a little bit. Every time that you hit someone with the foot or with the leg, they get a point, and it's very like protection based. It's not really like boxing or Muay Thai. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I really want to dive a little bit into fencing, because I was seeing a couple clips from you fencing. And by the way, I love your energy when you get a point.
I'm
It's just
embarrassed.
amazing. It's amazing. I love it so much.
It's a common
And
thing,
I have a
right?
couple of
When you
questions.
score a point, people like start to
Yeah,
scream and kind of stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
culture of
yeah,
fencing.
we get like hyped. It's an
You get
adrenaline.
yeah.
hyped.
You
Yeah.
feel like, wow, I need to express myself. So some people don't scream. I've seen people who are like really good, and they're just quiet. And I'm like,
Nah.
dang.
Nah.
Get
Yeah,
that out of you.
It's
Get
like
exactly.
the
scoring a
energy.
goal on soccer. How you're not
Yeah,
celebrating a goal?
basically.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. But let's hear your questions, Guillermo.
For sure. So you had, this is something I actually didn't know was in fencing. You had a cable attached to you. What
Mhm.
is that? Because I never seen
So
it before.
it's so the correct term is called a body cord. Um, dang, I wish I have it here, but it's over there. But anyway, it's a wire, right? With two kind of like three-prong ends, right? So one we connect to our weapon, and the second one we connect to the machine, right? The fencing machine. So the machine has its own wire, and sorry, it's a reel, right? So it's kind of like a box that gives us that string so that we can move. And there is a limit. You can't like run a mile, like it will like end. But as you fence, or the more you fence, the more you know like what's how much slack you can have. It is pretty long, so it's not like super dangerous. But attached to the reel, right, we have another cord, and that cord attaches to the machine. So you have the machine, which attaches to the reel, which attaches to the body cord. Sorry, which
Okay.
attaches to the weapon.
To the
And
weapon,
there's
yeah.
a when you hit, it's kind of like a ballpoint pen when you like click it. So when it clicks down, it registers all of that to the machine.
Mm,
So this is how we know
Okay.
who hit and who didn't. So
it's pretty
sometimes
cool.
like you can like hit someone, but the point doesn't like go down completely. So if we didn't have this machine, we wouldn't know. And also we've seen more like modern fencing equipment where it's wireless. So I guess it's like connected with Bluetooth, but you only really see this in like certain World Cups or like the Olympics.
The Olympics.
But yeah, it's majority of us use these wires still.
I
Pretty
thought that
cool.
wire was if you became too aggressive, someone would just pull you up, like
No,
away from the player. Like if you
And you
actually
lift
wanted
it up.
to knife the person with your sword, you would just like,
no,
nope,
no, 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 no. This doesn't happen.
for
I mean,
points.
people do get aggressive, and you should. Like, it's a combat sport. Like, knock
Yeah,
that
yeah.
person out. But if you're like literally like knocking a person out, I think you'll get a card for that. Maybe like black card or like red card.
Yeah,
I'm
if you
not.
elbow the person,
Oh,
probably,
if you
yeah.
elbow, go home. Like, that's insane. Like, why are you
Yeah, that's a
elbowing
little bit
people? So,
too much in fencing.
mhm.
I love that. What was your hardest match that you would say, like the one that was the biggest challenge to you? Was it like a championship? Was it
Hmm.
US in another
Yeah, I
country,
think
France?
it was a recent competition. So I got the chance, I think, so how World Cups work, um,
Mm,
you have 12 people from every country, right? Not every single country. Like Grenada will not have, there's like zero people, right? So it's not like every single country, but uh, there are countries like, for instance, my friend from Serbia, yes, they have 12 people, but they only have like, let's just say 5 or 6 girls, right? So they're always going to go. Whereas the US, we have more, right? So I have not been on that top 12 list where I can just go to any World Cup. So I think I was coming home from Paris. And as soon as I landed in New Jersey, I got a call from my mom. She was like, someone is calling me about something in Vancouver and you need to call them back. And I'm like, okay, let me call them. And I guess some people like didn't want to go to this World Cup because that same weekend we had a national competition. So they were like, I just want to go to the national competition. So there was a spot left. And I said, yes, I'm going. So I took like a
Wow.
6 or 7 hour flight from Paris. Then I was like, okay, I have like an hour to get to JFK to then go to Vancouver. And that was like another 8 hour flight or maybe even more. And it was so annoying, but I made it there.
Wow.
And it was my first World Cup. Like, I'm excited. My coach is excited. He was like, girl, I did not expect that from you, but like, you're going to kill it. And I'm like, thanks. So I go, I'm ready. Obviously I have no expectations, but I'm like ready to show myself. Like, I'm going to prove to you guys, like, I am supposed to be here. Y'all just didn't see me. Okay. Or I'm just not in the top 12. But anyway, um, I remember, so in fencing, we have two like sections. So we have pools, which is you have, let's just say there's 100 people, or let me do
mhm.
math. right? Let's just say we have 50 people. We'll have 10 pools of 5 people. So you fence those 5 to 5 touches. And then they have a seating chart. And then you kind of, it's like brackets. So like number 1 versus 100 and 2 versus 99. So it goes like this. So my pools went really well. I was proud of myself, but I always do well in pools. It's the 15s. That's the bracket part. We fenced to 15 touches. So the first one I did pretty well. I was like, yeah, okay, you know, beat this girl from Mexico. Next one. The second girl was from Canada, and I had her in my pools, and I beat
She
her.
was fighting home. She was at home.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, right? Because like I saw her in pools. I beat her. I'm like, yeah, this is easy. She prayed to every single god known to her, okay? She manifested. She just said, I need this energy right now. I was so angry. Like, I was angry because I was frustrated because I was like, what is like, why is she killing it right now? So I'm like, okay, don't even worry about that. Worry about you. What's going on? And it was just like the first time in my fencing life that I was angry. Like I'm not an angry person, never been. Like, never. No person can make me angry. I'm a person block and delete. Like, you cannot make me angry. But it was, I think that was the most difficult bout because it was not only me fighting her, but like fighting myself. Like, calm down, like just figure out a strategy. And then I lost, and I haven't cried like after a competition in a long time. I was just like, yeah, you know, it is what it is. Like, people, you know, they may be more prepared, whatever. And I cried for like hours. I was so upset. And like, so she made it to the second day, and she had to fence like, I think the number 1 girl in the world or something, or maybe like top 7 in the world. And I was like, well, she's going to lose. And she beat her. And at the end of the competition, she got like 3rd. And I was like, damn, you were on fire.
Wow.
I wasn't that mad.
That's actually great because you lost for the girl that got the 3rd place. So it's actually a good feeling in the end. I mean, never a good feeling.
Good feeling for her.
But, I mean, no,
but I know what you're saying.
It's not too bad at means.
Yeah. And of course, like, I respect her fencing because she really showed out. Like, I think that was her best like performance. I don't know. She could tell you it wasn't, but I personally think that was her best performance. So yeah.
What do you think?
My worst.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna mention. Not it was your worst, but what could have what do you think you could have done better in that match to outplay her? Do you think you were nervous? Do you think like your strategy just wasn't aligned with maybe how Canada teaches fencing?
And also
I'm sure each country
in
has
her
its
best
own,
day,
like,
let's say.
way.
Yeah, so I think it was many things. One, I think just like focusing more. I'm a kind of person who like gets distracted easily. And I think in the beginning of the bout, I was just a bit, unfocused. Another thing that I've been working on, like, or my coach teaches us, is like little mistakes. Like, once you make 1 or 2 mistakes, it's over. Like, you need to be so sharp that, okay, 1 mistake, cool. But like 2, 3, 4 mistakes, like, it's really, really, really hard to get out of that. So why would you put yourself in that position? And I think I just made too many mistakes, and it was like really hard to come back from it, right? I think I was down by like 8, and it's like, okay, this is kind of like difficult. And then the last thing, just like keeping my composure. I don't think I've ever, like I said, I've never been a mad person. And for me to just like lose my emotions like that, I think, just making sure that doesn't happen again. And
Pretty cool.
Nice.
And you got experience with this World Cup, so really great opportunity. Might be really great opportunity for you. And now, if you face this girl again, you're ready.
It's over.
Ooh,
it's
that'll
over.
be interesting, actually.
She's over.
I'll let you guys know if I ever see, and I'm pretty sure it's possible, but I'll let you know if I see her. But
pretty cool.
Out of curiosity, which country won that World Cup? Do you know?
Oh my God, my teammate. Let me tell you about my coach, okay?
Oh,
that competition was in December, right? So that was Vancouver World Cup. And my teammate from Italy, Giulia Rizzi, She
Yeah,
won, and
Italy
I
is
was
very
like,
strong.
yeah, yeah, Julia, like with the G too, like this is very Italian.
Mhm.
But I was so proud of her because I remember a month before this competition, my coach was just really upset with like how we were fencing at practice one day. And he was just yelling at us. And he was like, if none of you have won a World Cup in this room, I don't want to hear shit from anybody. And then he looked at Julia. He said, have you won a World Cup? And she's like the oldest one in the group. And she's like, no. And he was like, okay, so everybody, get on. 1 month later, and it was so funny. I literally remember that moment. I was like, Julia, look at that. So next time he yells at us, be like, I want a World
I
Cup.
got a World Cup.
Guess not.
Yeah.
And then the month
Wow.
after that, which was let's just say end of January, early February, it was in Doha, and Natalie Mohausen, who's my other teammate from Brazil, she won that World Cup. And then last week in Brazil, she won that World Cup. So the last 3 World Cups, my coach's students have won. So yeah.
That is
Sure,
great. Oh my God. No,
pretty
I'm
cool.
just thinking
Oh,
your coach is good.
Yeah, he
yeah,
is. I love
you're
him.
in the right path, Natalia.
I agree.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations. Guys, we're coming to an end on our podcast. We're reaching the final part right now. So before finishing up, this amazing conversation has passed by so fast. Guilherme wants to do the question he does every single episode.
Oh no.
So feel free, buddy.
100%.
No, it's a pretty
Before
cool one.
anything,
Okay.
it is, and you'll love this one.
You're
I
gonna
just want
love
to
it.
thank you for your energy. By the way, you
Mhm.
are so goddamn funny. I will give you
But
that
you're
award.
funny. You're always on
No.
10.
Ah.
You're always jumping out of the seat.
No. That's just my ADHD. But for sure.
This podcast is serious. We are always serious right here. You're a tough guy.
Seriously,
No, not at
ADHD.
all.
That's what it
Not at
is.
all.
Too much of it. My God. But I really want to thank your energy. And again, yeah, like fencing is very interesting. And again, people might only, as we talked about, see it as an activity and not as a professional sport, an Olympics game. And I think this podcast demonstrated like a little bit of the rules, how it's actually played out,
Yeah.
the importance to the world, because again, each country goes into the World Cup, so each person represents a country. So it's a very big thing. And I really liked it. And yeah, that's why we made this podcast come true, or this episode special. So for sure. Now to the big open-end question.
Okay.
If I were to tell you, what is the thing that makes you the most proud about being from Grenada, what would you say?
That's a hard one. What makes me the most proud? Dang. I
When you
don't
go
know.
abroad and you say to the people you know while you're fencing, hey, my parents, my mom, she's from Grenada. What do you say? I mean,
The thing that
what
follows
makes you
after.
proud? What makes you proud? Yeah,
What
what
makes me
follows
proud?
after?
I think what makes me proud is how small the island is, but also how connected the people are. I think just like the quickest story, if you know my mom, like she will always tell you, like she can meet you at the grocery store and she'll be like, I was adopted. And I'm like, all right, mom, like the cashier does not need to know this. But it just shows that like people, like they just saw this random baby on the beach. They're like, yep, that's our kid, right? If you go to Grenada,
Amazing.
you need any help, people are there to help you. Like people are really, really nice. And I think just growing up with that culture, especially like in France, where it's not always the same, just like growing up with people who have taught you to just be not heartless. Oh my God, not heartless, selfless, just full of compassion, always, trying to look at how can I help my neighbor. And yeah, that sense of community really just helped me blossom as an individual and has definitely taken me a very, very far way in life. And yeah, I couldn't be any more proud of that.
Really cool. And shout out to your mom. What's her name?
Her name is Charmaine. She's definitely like, if this was live, she would be the first person to listen. Like she's my number one fan and that's my bestie. So
really cool. Sending kisses to her. Shout out to your mom.
She's like, oh,
same.
okay, cool.
Likewise, I saw the TikTok of you and your mom is so damn dope. She's so dope.
Cool.
I love her. Dang, you are all up on my social media.
It's research. It's research, you know. Gotta come
Research or
prepared.
stalking? No, just kidding, just kidding. No, I love it.
He's
I
talking
love
you.
it.
For sure.
But
Natalia, thank you so much. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation, first of all. And wow, thanks for bringing this energy to our podcast. That's what we want with this platform to, spread this message to people, to break stereotypes. And you brought Fancy, you brought Grenada. And wow, lovely, lovely
yes.
episode.
No, thank you for having me. Everybody listen, follow, subscribe, download, review, all of the above. What else do you guys have that I should tell the people to do?
I think that's all the call to
Go on,
actions for
Guilherme.
sure.
Okay, sorry.
Go on, Guilherme. Go on, Guilherme.
Well,
No, but
yes, I love this podcast. You guys are super, super cool, down to earth. Guillermo, your questions are really funny.
thank you.
I
Appreciate
love
it.
it.
No, 100%. And to our listeners, yes, again, be sure to listen to all our listening platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and check out our socials at Podcast WWP, Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube channel as well, where you can see the video of the podcast.
Follow
And
us
see you
on
guys
Instagram.
next week. And
Don't forget to
yes, be
follow
sure to
us.
follow us. Follow us
Yep.
for our reels and for all our cool content there. So again, guys, we'll see you next week with a brand new episode. Bye-bye.
That's it. Bye bye, guys. See
Bye.
you, viewers. Thank you, Natalia, once again. Bye bye.